Check, 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 check. 1 2 1 2 check. Check 1 2.
He likes that.
You like that one? Okay, well that's well. Check 1 2 1 2 3. Well, hold on. I'm gonna put it on the podium where it's gonna be, and I can still turn it up more too. Check 1 2. Yeah, bring it up. Check, check, check. 1 2 1 2. It's on red. Red, red, red. 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. A little more. Check 1 2 1 2 3. Check, check. 1 2. One, two, three. Check 1 2. Better than before. Check 1 2. Check, check, check. 1 2 3. Right on. Happy, happy, happy.
Hello, this is English. English? Yep, English. Okay.
Test, I do. Check.
English, testing English.
Check. Test 1 2 1 2. Check.
Check.
I do.
Check.
Testing 1 2.
Testing 1
Check.
2.
Check. Test 1 2.
Testing 1 2.
Oh, 1 2.
Check.
1 2 1 2. 1 2 3.
Check.
4 5.
No, see, you got too many on.
Check 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2.
Test 1 2.
1 2 3. Test 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Test.
Check.
Check 1 2. 1 2.
Check.
1 2. 1 2. Test 1 2.
Check 1 2.
1 2. 1 2. Test. Check. Test 1 2. 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2. 1 2 3. Test 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2. And check 1 2.
English, this is English. Okay, great. We're good.
1, 2. Test 1, 2. 1, 2. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start the meeting in one moment. On va commencer la réunion dans une minute. Members of council can take their seats. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Bienvenue au Conseil municipal de la Ville de
Welcome to Ottawa City Council meeting, June 10th.
meeting for the 10th of June, 2015. For those who are able to, could you please rise for a moment of silent reflection and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. And at this time, our thoughts are with the family and friends of Constable Woodall from the Edmonton Police Service. Thank you. Merci. I now ask Councillor Deans to introduce our special guest from the Ottawa Police Service who will sing our national anthem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, everyone. Some of you might recognize our distinguished guest here today. He and his team of officers work hard each and every day to protect our city. It's my pleasure to introduce Ottawa Police Staff Sergeant Brad Hampson, who oversees the Traffic, Community Police Centres, and Emergency Services Unit for East Division. I'd also like to recognize Inspector Patrick Flanagan over there, who's here today and who helped arrange to get Brad here to sing with us for us. Brad and his team of East Division officers respond to thousands of calls for service, not just from Gloucester Southgate residents, but 9 other wards within the city. His officers are always there to support our residents, answer questions, follow up on concerns, and to provide excellent police service to our community. Brad began his career with the Ontario Provincial Police Force and transferred to Ottawa in 1999. He was previously in charge of the city's Emergency Services Unit, has served a 9-month UN peacekeeping mission in Sudan, as well as traveled on an exchange with the RCMP on Baffin Island in Canada's Arctic. Brad has a notable background in music, volunteering as a piper and an assistant drum major for the OPS pipe band, as well as with the RCMP and the Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry Highlanders. He can sometimes be found performing with his father, Garth Hampson, a retired RCMP officer and fellow vocalist. In addition, Brad is one of the national anthem soloists for Rideau Hall, singing for events presided over by the Governor-General. In 2008, Brad was inducted by the Governor-General into the Order of Merit of the Police Forces, recognizing conspicuous merit and exceptional service above and beyond his community. He's also a proud father of 3 young children with his wife, Miriam. Brad didn't just follow in his father's footsteps when it comes to policing. His father was well known for singing the national anthem at Ottawa Rough Rider games and Grey Cup football games. Brad was the main Ottawa Red Blacks anthem singer last year, and I'm happy to advise that he'll be back again this season. Today's crowd is small compared to the 24,000-plus faces he's accustomed to seeing at the games, but we're lucky to have his talent here to sing our national anthem. So please help me in welcoming Staff Sergeant Brad Hampson, today's Voice of Council.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. Quand ton bras se porte de paix, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée de plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Well, thank you very much, Staff Sergeant. It's great to have you with us here today. At this time, I'd like to invite Helen Sinek to the podium for this meeting's City Builder Award presentation, and also Helen's City Councillor Riley Brockington to join us. So Helen, if you would come forward right through here. And it's great that you have family and friends here in good numbers to support you and all the good work you're doing. And Councillor Brockington is coming up here. Founded in 1984, the Caldwell Family Centre has rapidly expanded to become a hub of services and programs to assist some of Ottawa's most vulnerable families. For those visiting the Caldwell Centre for the first time, the first steps inside the centre can be difficult and intimidating. However, for over 30 years, visitors to the centre have been welcomed by Helen's smile, enthusiasm, and renowned compassion. Having recently been recognized with a 30-year service award from the Caldwell Family Centre, it's made all the more impressive by the fact that as a single mother, Helen was a resident of Caldwell for 26 years. As a youth in Ireland, and I think you still have your accent, don't you, Helen? A little bit, a wee bit. Helen left school at 14 to work at a textile factory. At 20 years of age in 1960, Helen immigrated to Ottawa, where she was greeted by what she called a colonial metropolis to make a better life for herself and from her very humble beginnings. Never forgetting those humble roots, Helen began giving back to the community any way she could. Beginning part-time as a lunchtime supervisor at nearby St. Elizabeth's School, Helen was quickly recruited by a small group of Catholic nuns and volunteers who were tending to Caldwell's poor and needy. At almost 75, with no signs of slowing down, was I allowed to say your age, Helen?
I don't care. You can if you want.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
It's only a number, right?
That's right.
Helen continues to work in the day program at the center, but also spends her time helping the neighborhood food bank and the seniors drop-in program. Pour votre don de soi et de votre dévouement.
For your giving nature and grounded compassion, I'm very proud to give you this prize or award.
Passion are best summarized in her own words when she was recently quoted in the Ottawa Citizen saying, quote, "The best part of the job is seeing the people every day and to try to make them feel important and not use them to make yourself feel better," end quote. For your lifetime of giving and dedication to the Caldwell Centre and your community, I'm very, very pleased to present you with the Mayor's City Builder Award. Thank you for the wonderful work you do, Helen, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Well, come on right over here. There you go. You turn that around.
Okay, I would like to thank Mayor Watson and members of City Council and Raleigh-Brockington. I would also like to thank members of my family and friends for being here to support me. Also my co-workers Edith and Maurice, Graham and Rob. David Walsh, Executive Director of the Caldwell Family Centre, Sister Lorena and members of the board. And to acknowledge all our volunteers who work at the Family Centre. Last but not least is the people who come to the centre, whether they come for the emergency food programme, or to come for toast and juice, or to have a coffee or tea. All of the people that come through our doors know they are treated with respect and dignity. Thank you again, everybody, and I also want to thank, which is OCH there, for putting forth the letters of support. And anybody I forgot, I'm really sorry. But thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well done. You're like a pro. You did perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, well, that was very well done. Thank you. Thanks for all your Well, thank you again, Helen. We have a number of members of our city staff here with us as well as we launch the official announcement of the 2015 City Managers Award for Excellence. I'd like to welcome family members and guests here at City Council. J'aimerais souhaiter la bienvenue aux familles.
And I also like to welcome the family and friends of the city employees.
Employees can receive through the city's corporate recognition program. Today, we are here to honor some of the city's finest in the categories of turning ideas into results, community and internal subcategories, demonstrating leadership, and making people a priority. City employees, as all of my colleagues on council know, take pride in providing excellent service to Ottawa residents. Les employés municipaux mettent un point d'honneur à
City employees take pride in providing excellent service to Ottawa residents.
These awards represent an important opportunity for peer-to-peer recognition, and each nomination demonstrates excellence at the workplace. These awards are an opportunity to recognize and celebrate some of the most knowledgeable, innovative, and inspirational individuals and groups in the corporation. Our city and our residents benefit from the great work that you do. Notre ville et nos résidents profitent.
Our city and our residents benefit from the great work that they do.
They're also an important acknowledgement of outstanding leadership, improved services, and inspired innovation that ultimately benefit the entire city. I now have the pleasure of asking our City Manager, Kent Kirkpatrick, to make the official announcements of this year's winners. Kent, j'ai le plaisir de vous présenter maintenant.
I now have the pleasure of introducing City Manager Kent Kirkpatrick to make the official announcements for this year's winners. Kent?
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Watson, and bonjour, mesdames et messieurs.
And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me and an honor to join you this morning in celebration of the City Manager's Award of Excellence.
Watson indicated these annual awards are the highest honor that employees can receive through the city's corporate recognition program. This is the 9th year of the awards, and the official nomination ceremony was held yesterday, where I met with over 400 nominees at the Nepean Sportsplex. And those nominees, as the Mayor indicated, were nominated in 4 categories. This year's awards recipients and nominees are examples of the very high caliber of people working for the city and their dedication to providing excellent service to residents. I was truly impressed by the many individuals and groups in the running this year and by the excellence of work that each nomination represents. The first category, Turning Ideas into Results, aims to recognize efforts that use innovation to benefit the city. This category is divided into 2 subcategories: community for initiatives that benefit the city and its residents, and internal for initiatives that benefit the corporation and the employees working together within it. This year's winner for Turning Ideas into Results in the community category is uZSQ6dH from the Transportation Planning Branch in the Planning and Growth Management Department. uZSQ, if you could please come down and join me. uZSQ receives the CMAE for his leadership in the high-profile cycling-related projects in Ottawa, including development of cross rides, cycle tracks, and the east-west route for cyclists crossing the city's core. Il est reconnu pour son sens de l'innovation.
He is recognized for his innovation and his dedication to developing and implementing sustainable transportation projects that improve the mobility of Ottawa residents.
uZSQ's efforts, the city is recognized as a leader in the active transportation field, and his contributions will have an impact on bicycle usage and infrastructure in this city for years to come. Congratulations, uZSQ. Thank you very much. The recipient of the award for turning ideas into results in the internal category is Robin Suchin from the Realty Services branch of the Real Estate Partnership and Development Office. Robin's not here today, I'll tell you that right now, but he's honored for his knowledge and expertise in managing the acquisition of real property and for his skill in the negotiation and execution of leases and appraisal of city-owned properties. Most recently, Robin played a very critical role in the success of the Lansdowne redevelopment project, managing and negotiating deals with multi-parties with exceptional skill, resourcefulness, and tenacity, in my opinion. Robin's unable to be here today, but we thank him for the vision, innovative thinking, and experience that he brings to the role. He was presented with he was made aware that he was receiving this award yesterday. It was a surprise to him. He asked me to inform members of council and people here today that he very much would like to be here, but as it was a surprise, 3 or 4 weeks earlier, he had committed himself to take his daughter to a field trip, I think, to Upper Canada Village this morning, and he felt that was a commitment he just couldn't break. But he was very, very happy to receive the award and asked me to just explain to people why he wasn't here today. The third category, demonstrating leadership, honors leaders who motivate colleagues and inspire superior performance. The recipient in this category is Stephen Hiscox from the Parks, Building and Ground Services branch of the Public Works Department. Stephen, could you please come down? As a facilities supervisor at the Peter D. Clark Centre, Stephen was nominated for his engaging leadership style and for his ability to inspire and motivate co-workers. Stephen appuie son équipe et offre un soutien.
Stephen offers support to his team and to his individual members through coaching, mentoring, and the encouraging of continuous learning and development.
Skills and willingness to share and exchange knowledge and ideas, Stephen has gained the respect and admiration of colleagues. Congratulations, Stephen. Well done. Stephen's asked me to tell you that he wants to dedicate this award to Alain Bissonnette, a co-worker and a gentleman that recently passed away. And that's very, very touching, Stephen. And Kevin Wiley was telling me about that yesterday and indicated that it's just another example of the sincerity and thoughtfulness that you bring to your team members and the people that you work with every day. Thank you. The final award category, Making People a Priority, recognizes those who put the needs of residents first in delivering top quality service to the public. Ce travail est manifestement important pour les gens. The winners of the CMA in the Making People a Priority category is the Ottawa.ca team, comprised of Leila Akaya, Aaron Byrne, Richard Chan, Joanne Claroux, Mark Cunningham, Joanne Dakin, Philip Desordi, Alan Fong, Judy Fox, Christopher Fulton, Rachel Gibbard, Denis Hemelin, Veronique Moreau, Benilla Muragansan, and Michael Patch. Could you please come down and join me? This team composed of staff from IT Services and Service Ottawa, is responsible for the city's website. They are honored for their contributions to the many essential elements that go into developing and managing a citizen-centric approach to Ottawa.ca. Throughout each phase of the project, the team has set high standards for public service, keeping the needs of users at the forefront of all decisions and working to exceed user needs and expectations. Cette équipe également montre la voie.
The team also led the way in building a foundation upon which many city departments can now offer self-serve services.
For your success, and thank you for improving how the City of Ottawa engages with residents online and provides services and information to clients. There are individual certificates outside. On behalf of City Councillors, management, and all your colleagues, I would like to say thank you for your hard work and dedication. Our city and our residents benefit from the work that you do. Nous sommes tous très fiers de notre...
We are all very proud of our city, and each of you has played an important role in our collective pride.
The opportunity to acknowledge and celebrate these exceptional people and their great work, and I extend my sincere thanks to all of the award recipients and nominees. Yesterday at the nominees ceremony, I told all of the nominees that today I would encourage members of council and other people here to please take a moment and in the past it was sort of a pamphlet-sized document that identified all the nominees, the individuals, and the work they've done. This year, with the growth of this program, it's more like a catalog, but there's some excellent stories in there. And congratulations to the award recipients, but really congratulations to all of the nominees. As I said earlier, in my mind, this is the purest form of recognition that an employee of the City of Ottawa can receive in terms of being nominated, recognize your work and your efforts and your contributions, recognized by your peers to the extent that they wish to nominate you for this award. So congratulations to everyone. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirkpatrick. I think I would encourage, as Kent said, read through some of these. I just noticed that our colleague Catherine McKenna was nominated, so it's just an honor to be nominated, Catherine. So congratulations on the phone and counter optimization team. So congratulations. While we're congratulating individuals, I want to take a moment to congratulate our colleague Tim Tierney, who was unanimously re-elected as chair for the Ontario caucus at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Congratulations. That, as you know, to have someone on the board is an honor, but to have someone chair the whole Ontario caucus is quite special. So thank you very much, Tim, and congratulations. Madam Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Conseiller Manette.
Result.
Councillor Middick.
Here.
Councillor Harder. Here. Councillor Wilkinson.
Present.
Councillor El-Shantiri.
Present.
Councillor Caudry.
Present.
Councillor Taylor.
Here.
Councillor Shirelli.
Here.
Councillor Egli.
Here.
Councillor Deans.
Here.
Councillor Tierney.
Present.
Conseiller Fleury.
Ici.
Councillor Nussbaum.
Here.
Councillor McKenney.
Present.
Councillor Leeper.
Here.
Councillor Brockington.
Here.
Councillor Chernyshenko.
Present.
Conseiller Cloutier.
Present.
Conseiller Blais.
Here.
Councillor DeRuse.
Here.
Councillor Moffat.
Here.
Councillor Kakish.
Present.
Councillor Hubley.
Here.
Mayor Watson.
Here.
Le quorum est 10, Monsieur le Maire.
Merci.
We have the quorum.
So the process verbal, confirmation of minutes from the 27th of May, 2015. Carried. Declarations of interest, including those originally arising from prior meetings. Déclaration de conflit d'intérêt. None. Communications as presented. Regrets. No regrets filed to date. Motion to introduce reports. Motion portant présentation de rapport. Conseiller Tierney, appuyé par Conseiller Chernyshenko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the report from the Ottawa Community Housing Corporation, entitled Ottawa Community Housing Corporation Annual Report and Annual General Meeting of the State Shareholder, Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee Report 5, Audit Committee Report 3, Finance and Economic Development Committee Report 5, Planning Committee Report 8, and Transportation Committee Report 5 be received and considered.
Carried. Carried. Thank you. Item number 1, Ottawa Community Housing, Société de Logement Communautaire d'Ottawa. OCHC Chair Conseil Fleury and CEO Stéphane Giguère will provide a brief presentation. So I think we'll do that now since we have Mr. Giguère with us, and we can invite you up beside Mr. Moser. And reminder, this is the shareholders meeting. We're to deal with a limited scope in terms of what we can and can't direct OCH to based on the advice from the city solicitor in the procedure memo. So, Mr. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to start by thanking our previous chair, Marianne Wilkinson, for the transition and ongoing support that she's offered to me in my first year. I also want to mention some of the board members that are with us today. So in the audience we have Kathy Jordan, who's recently joined our board, as well as Sarah Cambites. And in the back row we have Sandra Pilote, who's been an involved tenant for quite some time with OCH, especially in Lower Town. And around the table we have Councillor Middick, Councillor Taylor, and Councillor McKenney, who are also members of council on our board, as well as Mr. Mayor, who's ex officio member. Alors évidemment, cette année, on a eu la chance.
So this year we had the opportunity, through many opportunities, also with my colleagues, we're going ahead with more investments in repairs, but also with our 10-year plan to reduce the number of homeless people.
Overall, the direction in terms of the 10-year homelessness plan and the additional capital dollars. And I want to, before I hand it over to Stéphane, just highlight some of the initiatives that he's brought to the executive team over the past year. So the portfolio management strategy that you'll hear about in a few minutes, the alignment with the strategic plan, the CEO's report, as well as raising the bar on the tenant experience, the OCH services in general, the increase in the mobile workforce, as well as the maintenance standards across the portfolio. So Stéphane, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, first of all, it's a pleasure for being here. Your Worship, Mayor Watson, City Councillors, OCH Board members, guests and staff members, good morning. Bonjour, il me fait plaisir d'être parmi vous.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to be with you this morning.
Here at Ottawa Community Housing, getting to know the tenants through numerous events, working with the staff, the Board of Directors, and also all the partners who are essential to the success of our endeavor has been so rewarding. Today's objective is to provide you with highlights of our 2014 annual report and a glimpse into our future. The materials you have been provided offer a more comprehensive look of what our corporation has achieved in our past year. We would like to take this opportunity to thank important contributors to our success in 2014, as well as for their ongoing support towards our portfolio management strategy and our strategic plan. Mayor Jim Watson, the Member of Council, City of Ottawa staff, as well as our tenants, Board of Directors, staff, and partners. 2014 has been a year of stability, planning, and leadership. OCH overall operating cost efficiencies in 2014 has allowed us to invest more into our buildings and in our services, as our chair pointed out. The LED retrofit program, part of our green initiative, has reduced overall power consumption by an estimated 30%, ultimately reducing our cost. As well, 2014 saw a continuation of our refinancing strategies, resulting in an estimated $4 million for capital projects without affecting our annual debt servicing costs. An additional $3 million annually can be further invested in our buildings, thanks to the city's approval to exempt OCH from property taxes, which is revenue neutral to the city and benefits, obviously, our tenants. Our willingness to explore new strategy has led OCH to be profiled and recognized as a leader in the social housing sector. Some further examples include our innovative approach to new sustainable and functional design, such as the old St. Patrick that you saw last year. The use of technology in the delivery of our maintenance services, our chair pointed out, leveraging mobile devices and to increase our response time. Responsible and efficient management benefits our tenants and is essential to our ongoing quest to deliver affordable, safe, and sustainable homes. The tenants are at the center of our services and success. OCH is tenant-centric. We are committed to continuously working towards empowering and engaging them in ways that will facilitate their participation and create awareness around the essential role they play in the success of their housing and communities. We are evaluating our services and delivery approach. It will enable us to identify possible areas for improvement and reveal opportunities that will help standardize practices and standards. We are working to build a financial, sustainable future for OCH and social housing. We strongly believe that one of the first steps to attain financial sustainability is to create and enable a more dynamic portfolio management strategy to better blend into Ottawa communities. OCH is actively working towards this goal. Year over year, OCH works towards achieving further efficiencies. It has ultimately allowed us to produce in 2014 a $263,000 net return, which has been reinvested in our capital contributions. We are also looking at alternative financial approaches to help our ongoing and long-term capital investment needs. In 2014, OCH has accessed 6 grant programs representing nearly $6 million. Going forward, we will continue to pursue and access grant opportunities to fund our various initiatives. In conclusion, today achieving financial stability in the social housing sector is an ongoing challenge for all providers in Canada and internationally. OCH is on the right track to building a strong future. We are leveraging financial, human, and technological resources to provide a place that Ottawa residents can call home. Merci pour votre support au cours de l'année.
Thank you for your support over the year and every day. As you were able to see, 2014 was a continuous improvement year.
2014 has been continued improvements to our portfolio, and we look forward to working with you in the year ahead. I will take your questions now. Je vais maintenant répondre à vos questions. Merci.
I can take your questions now. Thank you.
Monsieur Fleury, comme président de la conseil d'administration.
Mr. Fleury and Mr. Giguère, the executive director.
We're not getting into operational questions of the organization based on the advice from the city clerk and solicitor. Councillor Chernyshenko, please.
I guess I'll learn very quickly whether this is considered an operational question or not, so I'll try it. And I'm very impressed with the work that OCH has done over the years to improve the energy efficiency, reduce the waste. That's all good money that literally sort of goes out the window, and the work that you do to retrofit your buildings. What are the impediments to doing more of that or doing it faster? I know you've got a schedule to do it, but likely financing is the key impediment, perhaps human resources to doing it faster. I'm curious what could help to do more of that and do it faster.
Okay, so this is an excellent question. Thank you very much. First of all, it's all about partnerships with the different groups, the different entities that we're dealing with. You touched on the point about the financial aspect. The financial is the key element because in any sustainable initiative, what you need is seed money to start and to appreciate going forward the net returns and the benefits of that investment. So for Ottawa Community Housing, pursuing the grants is one of the channel, but as well also seeking from partners the accessibility and availability of funding is another core element. When I was talking about partnerships, it's also the alliances that you create with different trade council organizations, with different alliances that they are in the sustainable and environmental research and study to improve our practices and our standards. So to start, really, it's all about the funding. We're looking at seed money over the next couple of years that they are above $2 million, and obviously that type of seed money will be reinvested towards savings. Mentioning in terms of results, over the last couple of years, what we're experiencing is about $5.6 to $6 million of savings towards our green plan, and obviously we want to continue to phase towards that direction.
So the return on the investment is very clear. It's a matter of how much can you do in a given year to in a sense, almost make money a few years later.
Yes, absolutely.
A second and I believe final question. I know a number of different institutional sort of landholders, school boards and others have made rooftops available for solar installations. Is that something the OCH has done or would consider doing at the right moment in the roof's life cycle?
Yes, actually we do have a photovoltaic rooftop plans, part of our green plan, and we do have solar panels as well that we have deployed and we want to continue to deploy. This is in partnership with Ottawa because one of the aspects that we're looking at as well is to resell to the grid, and those are elements that you want to make sure that you can put in place to ensure sustainability of that type of initiative.
It may, Councillor, be a good idea because I think there are a number of issues on the environmental front with respect to energy to have OCH come and present at the Environment Committee, because I think there are, I know for instance in the climate change plan there are plans to retrofit some buildings with more modern appliances that...
I would be pleased to extend that invitation. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councillor Taylor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and Stéphane, Mr. Giguère, thank you very much for the presentation this morning, and thank you very much for welcoming me on the board of OCH. It's been a rewarding experience thus far. My question really is around, you spoke a little bit here, and I know we've talked a lot at the board about the property management renewal strategy, and the board's currently kind of working through that and how it rolls out. Council has a strategic initiative that's tied to property renewal as well, and it was passed yesterday at planning, and I'm wondering how you see those two items working together. You know, what are the benefits and what are the deficits of those two things? So the strategic initiative with regard to renewing communities and your asset renewal strategy of our communities.
So for Ottawa Community Housing, the portfolio management strategy is already underway. So it's not something new. This is something that Ottawa Community Housing is committed to blend into our communities, to look across the entire city of Ottawa. Obviously, we have 15,000 units, about 739 homes, properties across Ottawa. For us, first of all, is to identify what will be the areas of priorities that will be sustainable going forward for either redevelopment, for repurposing, or for rebuilding. And obviously, those areas varies according to, you know, the best use that you can have from the building point of view. But as well, we're looking at three streams: the financial side, making sure that we align the right partners at the table; the building side, you know, the properties, what part of their life cycle they are in, and the third is the demographic, how we ensure that we can forecast and trend properly across the city of Ottawa and make sure that we adapt the portfolio to the needs of Ottawa. So for me, this is the portfolio management strategy. From what I understand of the other initiative, it seems to be different. It seems to be more typical of a specific area of Ottawa.
Sorry. So just to be clear, though, so you're working through your portfolio management strategy, right, and your ideal would be to have that dovetail into our strategic initiative, so that our strategic initiative is lined up with the property that you would choose.
Actually, the portfolio strategy is really aligned towards the OCH portfolio. Obviously, the OCH portfolio has ramification within major, areas of Ottawa, including the ward in question, Ward number 10. Being one of the largest landlord in Ward number 10, for us, obviously, we will have the expectation of being consulted throughout the process. But from what I understand, it's limited to the land and the land redevelopment of that specific area.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Eagle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. I think it's probably a question of clarification, but during the presentation I noticed on one of the slides that when you're talking about your the automation, if you will, or the computerization of the maintenance system, that you had received about 212,000 requests for service, but I saw that the comparable number for service orders, if you will, or maintenance orders that went out was about half of that, was about 118,000. So can you speak to that discrepancy? Were we getting multiple concerns about a particular thing, or why do those numbers, are they not more in sync?
So in terms of the maintenance and call centers called receive, it's not only about maintenance. So you will have calls at the call center that they are about safety. As you know, we provide safety services. Most of the call on the safety side will be for parking, for that type of request where people will ask people to move their cars away. In terms of maintenance, we have different set of calls, obviously, because we have different set of properties. We have high-rise, mid-rise, townhouses, homes. Obviously, it can range from, cleaning to just changing a door handle. So again, all of the calls are funneled through the call center to ensure that we can respond effectively and in a very responsive manner. Actually, all of the calls at the call centers are answered within 30 seconds, and within 24 hours, we guarantee that someone will be at your door fixing the issue if it's a work order issue. But according to the level of emergency, obviously, we can escalate, and we have protocol for escalation as well.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, and thank you for the great work that you and the board do along with the chair every day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eagle. Councillor Hughley, please.
Thank you very much. Two questions for you, and one I'd like to ask the chair if he could enlighten us on some of the strategic directions that the board is going to take over this term of council, and in particular your efforts to work with the private sector to find partners to renew the existing housing stock and perhaps be able to build new. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. Thank you for offering the question, and thank you for your involvement. We've had very good exchanges thus far, and really looking forward to continued support from my colleagues on this. So there are confusions regarding the portfolio management strategy, and it's important to be said that in the past, our capital repairs went to the highest priority. A broken foundation, we were in there making those investments. Window repairs, roof repairs, without looking at the entire portfolio. And now what we're doing is, as highlighted by our CEO, there's 739 communities that are being reviewed in terms of looking at capital repairs, looking at demographics, looking at number of units, looking at the zoning that's in place. Because some of our properties are 2 stories in zones where they're on main streets. In terms of looking at the zoning, there'd be a lot of opportunities there. So we have to complete the portfolio management strategy, which will be done by the end of 2015. And after that, and through that process, obviously we need to, as ideas come up, we need to engage with our partners. But we need to have a fulsome strategy of the 739 properties, and once that's established, we'll identify the top 5 sites, communities, if you will, and come back and share those with our colleagues, and really look at the different opportunities that are in front of us.
Is there any thank you for that, and I look forward to seeing your report. Is there any plans to have an audit, like to either invite the city's Auditor General or to hire your own AG to do a review of the operations as well, and some of the initiatives?
So in terms of our, we do have already auditors with Ottawa Community Housing. It's Ernst & Young that they are the auditors. They are looking at our process from a financial point of view in terms of delegation of authorities, ensuring that everything is in order from process, from controls. So we have been using them since the last 4 or 5 years. So far, the reports of the auditors were positive. In terms of best practices, we always look for improvements. So what we do usually, we hire consultants in special niche areas, so such as, for example, if you look for someone for health and safety, we will look for a specialist in health and safety to provide us guidance and best practices in that area. So if we look at building management, like if we want to do a building condition assessment or, doing FCIs on our properties, again, we will go with engineering firms that will be providing us their sounding boards and advice on this.
I think it's important to highlight just another element. Beyond the financials, which we're very strong on, and some of our executive team members actually have books and are asked to participate in courses at Carleton, at Algonquin, and other programs, which highlights some of our best practices. But in terms of the tenant experience, our responses to service requests and beyond, there are items for which we'd love to have your perspective and see at the board what we can do to continue to improve our services. We've engaged in that road for quite some time, but we're always looking for new ideas. And on the other hand, as you know, we engage in a lot of materials, that it's kitchen replacement, washroom replacement, floors, paints. We're always working with the industry to see what's innovative, what's good for the environment, what's sustainable, and what makes sense financially. So there are mechanisms there, but obviously we're open and willing if there are other ideas in our approach.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Deans, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to follow up on a question asked by Councillor Taylor a few minutes ago. As I understand it, OCH is currently undertaking an asset management strategy and doing a system-wide review of the entire portfolio. But if SI 39 comes forward and is passed by Council as recommended by Planning Committee yesterday, OCH would participate as a stakeholder in that process. Is that correct?
Actually, so from what I understand, the role of OCH is not yet defined in terms of the SI on that one. From what we received in terms of information about the SI, it was really about land redevelopment and the potential for the lands itself. And this is where OCH will have interest in looking at, is there anything that we can do as part of the portfolio side? We have no indication so far in terms of how we can participate in that study.
No, but from the outset, you would participate as a stakeholder with a landholder in that community.
If there's any consultation, absolutely, we will be there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Est-ce qu'il y a des autres questions?
Any other questions?
Questions as presented. Carried. Thank you very much, Councillor Fleury and Monsieur Giguère. Committee reports. Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee report number 5, rapport numéro 5 du Comité de l'Agriculture et des Affaires Rurales. Number 2, Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-250, Omnibus Zoning Bylaw Amendments. Carried. Planning Committee and Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommendation as amended is before us. Carried. Next item is installation of stop signs on Pollock Road and McCordick Road. Carried. Audit Committee report number 3. Councillor Leeper has some questions, so we'll come back to that. And sinking fund financial statements. Is that the same one, Councillor? No. On the sinking fund financial statements, carried. Planning Committee report number 8. Rapport numéro 8 du Comité de l'Urbanisme, official plan and zoning bylaw amendments 4401 Fallowfield Road. Carried. Item number 7, local commercial study, city-initiated zoning bylaw amendments for local shops and services in residential areas. Councillor Chernyshenko has an amendment. Does anyone wish to speak on this item, or can we deal with the amendment? It's a technical in nature, taking out 2 addresses in Heron Park Community. Councillor Chernyshenko, please.
Thank you very much. It's a very simple question of a couple of addresses having been identified as potentially good ones for future commercial activity. Neither of the owners of those addresses were in favor. The Community Association is not in favor, and it was recently brought to my attention that with the approval of a community design plan, the Bank Street South one a couple of years ago, that a mere block or 2 away there will be some quite significant opportunities for commercial development within this community. So for all those reasons, I am moving that we remove these 2 addresses from this study.
Okay, so on the amendment by Councillor Chernyshenko, seconded by Councillor Leeper, Councillor Harder.
I would like a staff comment on that, Mr. Mayor. We had a fulsome process and discussion at committee, and I would like staff to just comment. I mean, I would hate to see, then other people say, wow, I missed my opportunity. I should have added my 2 addresses as well. So I just want to hear what they have to say.
So this is a good example of someone moving a motion should check with the committee chair.
Or at least show her the motion.
So in future, as a courtesy, if you could notify the chair so that we have a heads up. So we'll see if we can get a quick answer. Otherwise, we'll come back to this and go on with the consent agenda. Mr. Ritzy?
Mr. Mayor, in this particular case, the department has no concerns with the request.
And if I may add, we did work with staff on this. Somehow there was oversight in not communicating that with the chair, for which I apologize.
Thank you. So, thank you very much, everyone. On Councillor Chernyshenko, seconded by Councillor Leeper's motion on 1046 and 1052 Brookfield Road being removed. Carried. On the report as amended, please. Carried. Thank you. Sandy Hill Heritage Study, étude patrimoniale de la Côte de Sable. Carried. Oui, on va retourner. We'll return to that. Transportation Committee Report number 5, rapport numéro 5 du Comité des Transports, O'Connor Street Bikeway, Wellington to 5th Avenue, recommendation. Carried. Thank you to committee. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the bulk consent agenda? Councillor Hubley.
I'll wait for it. There you go. Just one quick question, and you may not have to remove it, but I didn't get a chance to ask this question at FEDCO, and something was mentioned about it at planning yesterday. I'd just like to follow up. With the CIP improvement grants for St. Joseph, is there any indication of how many jobs this is creating for that money? Do we know? Is Bob or?
Yep. Is Mr. Cope or who would speak on that?
Mr. Cope will be down in a second, Mayor.
Since Shirelli said it's wildly successful.
Mr. Chair, was the question about the one on St. Joseph Boulevard or the one on Trim Road?
On both. Yesterday they were categorized as wildly successful, so I'm just curious, for $1 million on St. Joseph, how many jobs are we getting for that?
The one on St. Joseph is currently estimated at approximately 30. In the end, the owner of that building will need to submit an affidavit certifying that his jobs have exceeded the 15-job threshold before he would be eligible for his grant. The one on Trim Road has 20 jobs currently estimated, and again, he will be required to certify that he has exceeded the 15-job threshold prior to receiving the grant.
Okay, thank you. That was my question.
Okay, thank you. So anyone wish to remove anything from the consent, bulk consent agenda? On the bulk consent agenda as presented, carried, adopté, merci. Our first item that has been held is, a moment, is Councillor Leeper on the City of Ottawa Consolidated Financial Statements from the Audit Committee. Councillor Leeper, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of brief questions with your indulgence. The investment revenue that the city achieved in 2014 looks like it was significantly increased from what we achieved in 2013 by 30%. I think we were 5% over what we forecast for 2014, and I'm just wondering what accounts for a pretty significant bump in investment revenue.
Mr. Mayor, the answer, quite frankly, is the interest we earned on the endowment fund. We were able to achieve, because of the financial markets last year, basically 16% return on that investment, and that had the effect of increasing the overall investment returns for the City of Ottawa.
Is there a single number we can put on our rate of return with respect to the investments that we've made?
The endowment fund earned 16%, but the endowment fund is only $200 million. We have investments that total an average of $1.7 billion over the year. The other $1.7 billion earned a rate of approximately, I think it's 1.6%.
Yep.
So 2.16.
2.16? Yeah. It's obviously a big difference. I know the city has a very prudent or conservative approach to its investments. So
our investments are regulated under the Municipal Act. We can only basically invest in extremely secure investments. The one little area we have where we can go beyond that is with the endowment fund.
Okay, and congratulations on getting some good in return on that. I had a second question. Just I'm not an accountant, and so from a lay perspective, it was interesting. Our auditors in Ernst & Young identified 5 areas of difference from our statements to what they audited. They determined it didn't make a material difference to the surplus, but they recommended recording those. I'm just wondering if you can help a layperson understand, what do we do with those differences that the auditor finds?
I'm going to ask Ms. Jasmine to answer that. The Deputy Treasurer is responsible for the financial statements, but I want to point out one thing beforehand. These are differences, not errors. Accounting, believe it or not, is not a science, it's an art. And so there is interpretation differences as when you should recognize things on our statements, and that is what the auditors have identified. But I'll ask Ms. Jasmine to give you more detail on what we plan on doing with the 5 in question.
So the 5 So the 5 areas that have been identified, or differences that have been identified, 4 of them are actually timing differences. They're related to the tangible capital assets. Some of them, projects hadn't been closed and needed to be closed this year, and so amortization wasn't recognized in the appropriate year, but now they are. So it's more of a how we report in the current year, but overall we are recognizing what they've identified. It's a timing difference. The only one that's not a timing difference is the understatement of the pension liability for COSF. That's the pension. It provides for 45% indexation, and the city covers the other 55%. The auditors feel that we should show that as a liability going forward, but it's a decision that's made every year. So we decide not to show that as a liability.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Leeper. On the consolidated financial statements for 2014, carried. Merci. The next item that's been held is the Sandy Hill Heritage Study, Étude patrimoniale de la Côte de Sable. Councillor Nussbaum and then Councillor Fleury as the chair of Build Heritage Committee. Councillor Nussbaum, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to provide a brief explanation on this recommendation. There was a change at Planning Committee. Essentially, the committee is asking that staff review the boundaries of the Sandy Hill Heritage Character Area. Now, this is a good news story. The Sandy Hill Cultural Heritage Character Area is an idea that dates back to 2007, and there was a study done and submitted to the city in 2010. I think the community of Sandy Hill is very excited about this, and so we are moving forward with the proposal. The only issue is there were different views on whether 2 blocks of King Edward south of Laurier Avenue should be included in the Sandy Hill Heritage Character Area, differing views between the Build Heritage Subcommittee and staff, and so in consultation with Chair Harder, we decided to take that issue aside, and we'll deal with that over the coming months, but in the meantime, there is no reason not to go ahead with the boundaries that are agreed, and that explains why paragraph A of the motion is written as it is. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Conseil Fleury, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Wanted to highlight the importance of those guidelines for each of the 5 areas, as well as the zone between Osgood and Rideau. So I wanted to thank staff on that, and I want to remind colleagues and thank them and staff for the focus that we've brought to an area that's had issues of near campus residential, as you're well aware, with the moratorium starting last council, moratorium on conversions, infill 1, infill 2, now the Sandy Hill Heritage Studies. We're really doing our best to protect the character of that neighborhood, and for that I want to applaud my colleagues and staff from it. I've heard from the community that those efforts don't go unnoticed, so thank you.
Good to hear. Thank you very much. On the study, Sandy Hill Heritage Study as presented, carried, adopté. Next is the motion to adopt reports. Motion portant adoption de rapport. Conseiller Tierney et Chernyshenko, s'il vous plaît.
That the report for the Ottawa Community Housing Corporation, entitled Ottawa Community Housing Corporation Annual Report and Annual General Meeting of the Shareholder, Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee Report 5, Audit Committee Report 3, Finance and Economic Development Committee Report 5, Planning Committee Report 8 and Transportation Committee Report 5 be received and adopted as amended.
Carried. Motions of which notice have been previously given. Motion dont avait été donnée entièrement. Councillor Harder, seconded by Councillor Shirelli. Councillor Harder.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and Councillor Shirelli will be speaking on this as well, and I'm going to do my best to be able to. It was only on March the 8th that Ken Ross passed away, and today would have been Ken and Kelly's 9th anniversary. So I want to thank Diane Blais for her work. This is a record-setting number of people have contributed, and she's taken all due diligence, and she has gone over every single name to make sure that it qualifies. And so earlier this morning, I sent you out this package. These were the personal comments, so there were 100 and some personal comments that people took the time to individually, and there was over 1,700 people that signed petitions to support this initiative. So it's very clear that the people of Barrhaven and Councillor Shirelli very much support the renaming of a very large, our largest park, 30-some acres in Barrhaven, used by where the Canadian Little League will be held this year, where Bob Stevens Field, honoring a football hero in Barrhaven, Ted Hayes, a hockey coach. These are all parts of this very large park, surrounded by 4 schools. It's an amazing place. So when Mr. Ross passed away, we knew that we had to do something very special, and because the community was asking right off the bat. It was a surprise that we lost him, and that's reflected in the motion. Do you need me to read the motion, Mr. Mayor?
Your choice.
I just think I'm better off speaking to it. It is my initiative that I put forward. Obviously, the community supports it. Pardon? Okay. And whereas, therefore be it resolved, the Council at its meeting of June the 10th, 2015, approved the proposal to rename South Nepean Park, located at 600 Longfields Drive, in Barrhaven, Ken Ross Park. And also, Mr. Mayor, I have another motion that's seconded by Councillor Shirelli that would ask that you include the public comments in support of Mr. Ross and the naming of the park be appended to the minutes of today's council meeting. So I'm going to pass it over to Councillor Shirelli. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shirelli.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to add my support for the proposed commemoration of Ken Ross on behalf of myself personally and behalf of the residents of College Ward who have benefited from his community building work. Even though assisting in College Ward could not in any material way be seen to have benefited his business, which was far outside the shopping area of his business, Mr. Ross was in many ways an unofficial citizen of College Ward. He was often freely donating his time, money, and attention to even the smallest of community activities, and always with conscientious respect for those who wanted to make the community better. A couple of years ago, when we began a campaign to rename a park in our ward after our area's late MPP Bob Mitchell, and needed to host a demonstration to support our petition to council, Mr. Ross supplied a vehicle, commercial barbecue, along with hundreds of dollars of free food to the hundreds who attended the outdoor show of support. Mr. Ross had witnessed the good work of the late MPP Bob Mitchell and helped create one of the best nonpartisan or bipartisan efforts we've seen. So in an area where just about everybody is a good Italian liberal, they were out to support the renaming of their park after conservative Bob Mitchell. But Mr. Ross's recognition of the contribution that other people make and of the good that can be done by recognizing that contribution, I think should be followed here today, where we can recognize that same kind of good work that he did for our ward and especially for Barrhaven.
If I could just offer a couple of comments. First, to thank Councillor Harder. I know you've put a tremendous amount of effort. This has very passionate issue for you, as we can see. You're good friends with the Rosses, and I too admire the work that Ken has done in the community, both as a business leader, a successful business, as well as the chair of the BIA, and he took a leadership role with the business improvement area. I can't think of the numbers of times that I would see his popsicle cart at a community event, at Canada Day, or throughout some of the other parks in Nepean, and his food wagon, the work he did with the food bank back at the store. A true gentleman. Sadly, he's left us far too soon, but he's left a tremendous positive mark on the community, and I think this park is very befitting an individual who has given back so much to his community that he loved, and this is our chance to tell Kelly and his family and his colleagues at the store how much we respect and love him. So I appreciate you bringing this forward. I think the very fact that we had, I believe, a record number of signatures and petitions in support of this particular naming of the park, Ken Ross Park, is ample evidence that you're on the right track, and we appreciate how difficult this has been for you, and I thank you and Councillor Shirelli for moving the motion. So on the motion as presented, carried? Thank you. And on the motion, Councillor Harder has moved to amend or append the minutes, the public comments to the minutes today. Carried? Carried. Thank you. Our next notice of motion that was given is moved by Councillor Shirelli, seconded by Councillor Leeper. Councillor Shirelli, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's simple. Whereas the proposed 2015 to 18 term of council priorities report will be considered by council at its July 8th, 2015 meeting, and whereas staff is also recommending that due to the busy legislative agenda, the report from IT subcommittee with respect to the proposed 2015 to 18 term of council priorities report be forwarded directly to council rather than proceed through FEGCO. Therefore, be it resolved that City Council approve that the IT subcommittee report on proposed 2015 to 18 term of council priorities report proceed directly to City Council at its meeting of July 8th.
Any questions on the motion? Oh, sorry, Councillor Elshintiri.
So, Mayor, is that means just for this time only, and we'll go back to normal? Okay, I see the Deputy Mayor shaking her head, yes. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. On the motion as presented, carried, thank you. The next notice of motion that is before us is Councillor McKenney, seconded by Councillor Deans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is a motion that I'm bringing forward and seconded by Councillor Deans, as you mentioned, to name a new skateboard park in my community. On March 3rd of this year, Ottawa lost a dedicated, kind, compassionate young member of our community. Charlie Bowens died unexpectedly at the age of 27. Among many other things, he was an important and popular member of the local skateboard community. Charlie worked with other kids at the McNabb Indoor Skate Park. He was committed to working with children and provided a safe and caring place for them at the park. He was instrumental in advocating for and working toward the creation of our new outdoor skate park at McNabb, which will officially open on July 4th. I am honored to be able to move this motion today on behalf of his family, his many, many friends and fans who initiated and supported the commemorative naming process for Charlie Bowen's skateboard park. I didn't know Charlie, but have come to understand who he is through the dozens of comments and accolades that have been made in support of the park. 100% of comments that were submitted during the public consultation period were supportive. So I just want to read a few examples so that people get a sense of who Charlie was. I was always impressed by Charlie's commitment to working with children. Many times I witnessed Charlie's enthusiasm and gentle understanding for the fears and concerns of these very small members of our society and how he patiently addressed their trepidation so that they suddenly began brimming with enthusiasm and confidence. Charlie was the reason many people drove from all over the city to bring their children to the skateboard park. Each experience I have had with Charlie, he empowered the participants, youth, elders, poor, privileged. Charlie didn't care. He gave them a constant warm welcome and contagious positive energy. Do it for Charlie. He deserves it. What a wonderful message this would send to all the young people in the community to know that someone like Charlie, who was loved by hundreds, could get a park named after him at such a young age. So that's just a few of the comments, and they represent all of them, really. So the motion today, as I mentioned, is to name the brand new skateboard park that Charlie was instrumental in bringing into our community. So I'll just quickly read a small bit of it. Whereas for more than 10 years, Charlie Bowens dedicated much of his time and energy to Ottawa skateboarding community by working as a skateboarding instructor and participating in various skateboard-related charitable and fundraising initiatives. Therefore, be it resolved that Council at its meeting of June 10th, 2015, approved the proposal to name a new skateboard park at the McNabb Community Centre located at 435 Bronson Avenue, the Charlie Bowens Skateboard Park.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor, for bringing forward the motion, and certainly the park that I've driven by on a number of occasions is beautiful and befitting someone of Charlie's stature, and I think hopefully we'll have a great turnout of some of those people who wrote those kind comments at the ceremony on July 4th, so thank you for bringing it forward. On the motion as presented, carried, and update. Motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure. We've received none. Notices of motion for consideration at subsequent meetings. Councillor El Shantiri, seconded by myself. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is, as you said, this is a notice of motion. First of all, I want to thank you for your ongoing support to the BIAs right across the city. And colleague, this to deal with Senate Ave is going to be for the West Carlton March, men and women who serve in the war, and it's going to war memorial. So as a notice of motion, I read, therefore be it resolved, the City Council approved that the fee for the road closure at the junction of Donald B. Monroe Drive and Fall Down Lane, expected the amount of $9,421 be waived in order to allow the construction of the West Carlton War Memorial and future designation of this public space as a parkland.
Okay, so we'll deal with that at our next meeting. Thank you, Councillor El Shantiri. Our next notice of motion is from Councillor Chernyshenko, seconded by Councillor Shirelli. Councillor Chernyshenko, if you'd like to introduce the notice of motion that will be dealt with in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. As I'm sure you'll all be aware, a couple of months ago we did receive the formal commitment of the Government of Canada as well as the Province of Ontario now to match with the city's money and complete the combined sewage storage tunnel. This notice of motion was to give the authority to the city manager to approve and execute the federal funding agreement, provincial funding agreement, should timelines, initially was to simply give that authority. Councillor Shirelli, thank you, noted yesterday, later in the day, that we should modify this motion slightly should there not be time to bring this through the proper procedure of Environment Committee and Council. We would be granting the authority. So that's essentially the given this is notice of motion, do you want me to read the whole thing or just give notice?
No, it's not necessary because it's a notice of motion. I think you've captured the reason why we're doing it. Great, thank you. Our next notice of motion is Councillor McKenney, seconded by Councillor Nussbaum. Councillor McKenney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to allow Public Works to give them the delegated authority to enter into an agreement with Canadian Heritage to place temporary signage on our right-of-way at the Henry Harper Memorial that has stood in place on the north side of Wellington Street, facing the head of Metcalfe Street since November 1905.
Thank you. Our next notice of motion is by Councillor Harder, seconded by Councillor Hubley. Councillor Harder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is with regard to the Via Track in Barrhaven, and in particular to the massive project of the widening of Greenbank Road and the building of a grade-separated, in this case, underpass on Greenbank Road. Back in 1985, Nepean Council passed a motion because of the proximity of the Barrhaven community to the 6 crossings within it, literally backyards onto all the crossings. They passed that, and Transport Canada supported cessation of whistling. Because the detour on Greenbank Road has shifted the crossing marginally, it has caused, the reaction has been that VIA has been forced by law to reinstate whistleblowing just for Greenbank Road. It's at 96 decibels. It's affecting the lives of the people that live nearby, people with autistic children, people with little children, people are seniors, people with health issues. It is, and I find that over the months now it has been spreading. So I've been working with staff, and I want to thank them very much for their help. We've tried many, many different things to ameliorate this. In addition to this, there's 90 days of dynamiting, and now a crusher in place to crush the stone that's being dynamited. This is something that VIA supports, and so I'm putting it forward as a notice of motion because part of the process is you must have a notification. So that this will mean that as well. So therefore, be it resolved, this notice of motion states that City Council hereby gives public notice of its intention to pass a train whistling cessation resolution declaring it decrees the train whistles be prohibited at the Greenbank Road temporary detour railway grade crossing located at mileage 5.07 on Smith Falls subdivision, including delegating to the city manager to provide proper notification to the relevant organizations as required. Thank you.
Okay, we'll deal with that at our next meeting. Are there any other notices of motion for subsequent meetings? No. Notice of intent from Hydro Ottawa Holdings, Inc., avis d'intention de la Société de Portefeuille d'Hydro Ottawa, Inc. Notice of intent from Hydro Ottawa Holdings, Inc. to hold the annual general meeting of the shareholder at the council meeting scheduled for June 24th, 2015. Motion to introduce bylaws. Councillor Tierney, please.
That the bylaws listed in the agenda under motions to introduce bylaws, 3 readings, to be read and passed.
Carried. Adopté. A confirmation bylaw. Councillor Tierney.
That the following bylaw be read and passed to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting of June the 10th, 2015.
Carried. Adopté. I neglected to mention at the beginning of council, we should also congratulate our colleague, Councillor Eli L. Shantiri, who was elected first vice chair of the Ontario Police Board Association. That's the province-wide organization of police board chairs, and we appreciate you taking a leadership on that role as well, Councillor. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Councillor Fleury has a brief announcement with respect to Le Festival Francophone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the 40th anniversary of the Franco-Ontarian Festival that starts tomorrow until Saturday. So if you have the opportunity to attend, it's in Majors Hill Park, and there's Cain, Eric Lapointe, swing group. Mr. Benac comes from Vanier. So we'd like to promote it, and so it's the 40th anniversary. Thank you.
Written inquiries. Adjournment. Councillor Tierney.
That the proceedings of the City Council meeting of June the 10th, 2015 be adjourned.
Before we vote on that, I would remind chairs of committee if they could stay behind to meet with the Deputy Clerk to deal with the August schedule. And on the motion to adjourn, carried. Adopté. Merci. Thank you very much.